Hi, in this session, we're going to do a practical exercise working with V-Ray lights. I'm just going to go through mostly all the lights that I talked about, and I'm going to introduce different lights that we didn't talk about that were not really going to be so easy to talk about without practical exercise. So now this is the scene that I've created before. I have a camera in my case, but it's not a big problem. I'm just going to show you, I just added small frame in here. I just added some kind of ceiling from the top, okay, as you can see. Okay, so I can have indirect lighting if I want to work as an interior. And definitely I just added this logo that we've created before, and I'm gonna make it like a neon light if I want my logo, for example, to lit. And I just created this as a 3D shape, and this I'm just gonna work with it as lines. I have a window, and this is my chair, and that's basically it. It's just empty. Still, we need a lot of things to have inside, but I think it's fair enough to start with. I'm just gonna go my camera, and I just do a render as usual, and just have a small rendering and animation in here. So I'm just gonna reset it as before. Definitely we're gonna talk about these later on. So I'm just gonna render, and as you can see, it's going to be a black because I have no lights and I have my GIs on, which is perfect. Okay, now first thing I want to do, I'm gonna introduce the V-Ray light sun, the V-Ray sun. I'm just gonna go V-Ray lights and sun, V-Ray sun. Just gonna create a sun that's going to be entering the window in here, something like that. I'm gonna have a sky, and just make sure this sun is going to be something from above, and I'm gonna render. And definitely in here, I can play around with the values. Okay, great. In my case, because I have a camera, I'm not just gonna work with the exposure control of the camera because I didn't talk about them. I'm just gonna do the same thing as before. Just gonna go to rendering, environment. I'm gonna add exposure, V-Ray exposure control, and that's it. And I'm gonna do the render again, okay? So that I don't have to repeat everything. Okay, great. Now, as you can see, I'm missing the ceiling from up. I just have the direct gypsum. Okay, so I'm just gonna pause this and right click. I'm gonna unhide by selection or unhide by name. I'm just gonna unhide the box. Okay, that's it, because I have some other things that are still inside. Perfect. Now, as you can see, this is my render I'm starting with. So the sun is coming from the window, it's bouncing on the floor, and it's having this kind of light. I can definitely go to the sun or go to the exposure control and bump it a bit more. So I'm just gonna go rendering environment. In my case, it's still opened, I think, just behind. Okay, and maybe have the exposure ISO maybe 200 instead of 100, and definitely it's going to be brighter. But if I go a bit more brighter, it's going to become a bit, let's say 500, and it's going to become a bit overexposed. As you can see from the window, the sky is almost super bright, and the sun in here is kind of also overexposed. So maybe I have to be something in between. So I don't want it to be 500, maybe 300 should be fine, but that's it. So now what I'm having is just a sky and a sunlight. That's it. And this is what I'm going to get. Definitely I'm rendering low res, so I'm not going to have good quality render, but I'm just seeing overall the lighting. That's the bounce of light around the room. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to introduce a small light, which will make things sometimes better. I'm just going to go to lights, and I'm going to introduce V-Ray Ambient Light. V-Ray Ambient Light is a very simple light. I'm just going to place it, doesn't matter where. I'm just going to put it in a place where I can see it so I can select it anytime. So I'm going to put it here, just in the center of the image. And I'm going to go to modify. As you can see, it's just simple. I can enable and disable the light. I can have the light mode is going to affect the direct light and the GI or the direct light, or just the GI. GI means global illumination or indirect lighting. So this is the direct lighting from the sun. If you wanted to affect this light, also make it brighter, so the sunlight where it's bouncing in here, it's going to make it brighter, or both indirect lighting or just a GI. In my case, I want only the global illumination. Okay, but I actually don't know exactly how it's going to be, so I have to just stop this render and make it active, and I can check it from here. Now, I'm gonna have the color to be something, just gonna make it maybe warm, so I'm just gonna go back to warm, add it a bit warm with a small tint of blue, so something like that, maybe less. Okay, so this is it. As you can see now, the scene is lit better. Okay, this is because of the ambient light I'm putting. The intensity is 1, maybe it's too strong. I'm just gonna put it 0.5 because I want to see the depth of the light. It's like it's not more. Some places are more lit than the others. I'm just gonna go 0.1, maybe 0.2. And you can play around with the ambient light. Ambient light is just a fill light. It just fill up the scene with an ambience, okay, which is a specific color and light. In my case, I'm adding on the GI. You can add it on direct light and GI. You will see in here it's going to be brighter, and you can add it only on the direct light. In my case, for interior scenes, I will add it only on the GI to make it fill it up, and I can add a different color. Maybe I have it maybe something more bluish, and I will add something more cool light. So maybe something like that. Okay, more light from the sky in my case. But definitely now in here is 0.1, so I'm going to put 0.5. As you can see, it's more lit, more blue color, the scene, and you can work with that. Okay, perfect. Now I can also add an image as a texture. I have more like different colors, not just one color, blue color or whatever. Or I can, that's it. Basically, compensate exposure is basically the link between the light and the camera. In my case, it's fine. I'm just going to add it, not have a link to this. So in here, as you can see, it's more blue now. I think the light is a bit strong. Just going to make it less blue. Okay, maybe a bit more warm. So I don't want it to be so visible. Okay, something like that. And I'm gonna make it a bit less intense. So this is basically the V-Ray ambient light. So now I have some kind of interior shot with sunlight. That's it, without any other lights. Okay, so just a daylight having sun and having an ambient light inside to fill up the environment inside, because the scene is small and what I'm getting from the light from this opening is not enough to get all the lights. Now, other thing that is also useful sometimes, and to have a V-Ray light, okay, as I said before, on the window. So this is my window. I'm just going to add a V-Ray light and make sure this is going to be outside and it's pointing inward. I'm just going to rotate this 90 degrees. I'm just going to place it on the window and go to the modify, and I'm going to press on Skylight Portal. As you can see, as I press Skylight Portal, I cannot affect on the intensity of the light and other stuff. So it's just going to be a portal for this. And now I can just render, and it's going to add more visible light to go inside this this window. Okay, so I can add definitely also the same one on the door, which is behind us. So this could be another option that would help with the light penetrating the windows and the doors. I'm just going to go to perspective to show you a bit more. So this is my door because I have a glass in here, that's why, and I have a glass in here, and this is basically it. Great. Now, this is basically the first type of light I've used, which is daylight. So I just created, I can see in here it's like maybe overexposed. So let me just fix this ISO. Just gonna put it 100 again. I think just didn't realize that. Okay, so something like that. I want to see the sky. I want to see the sun. I'm gonna make the sun a bit more intense. So I just select the sun and make it maybe 2 instead of 1. And I can just render it out. So I'm just gonna make this active all the time. So it is fine, but it's a bit strong in here. I'm just gonna make it maybe not 1, not 2, it's just 1.5. So maybe this is what I want. Okay, it's a bright sky. Okay, and this is it. Okay, great. And now the ambient light, I can make it a bit stronger. So maybe 0.5 again. And I'm gonna do the same thing, just deleted it by, and I'm gonna add my portal lights. So this is going to be my portal light A. I'm just gonna go make it portal. Okay, and I'm gonna copy this again and rotate it. And I'm just gonna place it on the door. Okay, I can see it from here. So I can just scale it down. You can scale it by scale, but usually I prefer to have values. So something like that, maybe something like that, and I'm just gonna place it in. Technically, I need it to be just smaller. I don't need it to be as tall as the door, because the opening is just in here where I have the window in here. So I'm just gonna make it as small as possible so I don't waste a lot of things going on. And I'm gonna push my light inward because the door is inside, so in here. And definitely I'm gonna have a skylight portal. Now if I go render again, I should have more light coming in. Definitely the light is coming in still very weak. So now it comes in handy if I want to have my ambient light a bit stronger. So obviously it's going to be stronger. So I'm just gonna make it visible. So I'm gonna make it 1. And I think this is much better. Okay? I can definitely make it 5 if I want to have it more lit, but I don't want it to be super bright. Maybe 1 or 2 should be okay. I think this is fine, or maybe 1 even is fine. And I can see now all the materials. I can see the ceiling, I can see the floor, I can see everything I want. So I can just wait a bit for the animation, for the render to kind of finalize. But I think this is basically a good thing. Okay, that's great. Now, if I want to have internal lights, so interior lights, instead of having the sun from outside, I'm just gonna delete my sun. Okay, I don't want my sun, so just delete. And I have to go to my rendering environment. I'm gonna delete my environment sky and don't use the map. So now I have, I can delete also the portal lights, but in my case, they're not much of importance. And I can delete my ambient light, or I'm just gonna disable it. Okay, so now if I render, it should be black. Okay, there's no light in here. So I'm gonna light the scene from the inside. Now, the first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna introduce a new light, which is called the V-Ray IS. V-Ray IS, they're just a simple light. Okay, I'm just gonna draw them, let's say from here or anywhere, it doesn't matter. Let's say I'm just gonna point them over this painting. Okay, so the painting is, sorry, this side. So this is my painting in here. So I'm just gonna place my light over here, something like that. Okay, great. I'm just gonna select them both. I'm just gonna shift and drag and copy them as instances. Now I have 2 lights. I'm just going to place them above the painting, okay, and make sure the target is going to be some kind of inward the painting. So make sure this and this are going in. So I'm just having this kind of direction of the light, okay. So this is my painting, no, this is my painting in here, okay, so this is my painting. I cannot really see it much. Okay, so just have to move it inside. Okay, I'm just gonna move it inward. Just it touches the wall. So that's basically it. Great. So now this is what I got, and this is what I want. Maybe just gonna select these 2 lights. Just gonna move them inward, something like that. Now, lights. V-Ray IS lights are very simple lights. You can just enable, disable like all the others. Okay. What I care about the lights, I have also the color of the light, and I have the intensity of the light. okay, the power of the light, and so on. So I have all the options same as before. So I have the color in here. I can use the color, I can use the temperature, okay. I can use the power or intensity of the light, which is in here, okay. But the most important thing, I can just go in here and add an IES file. So I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna add an IES file. So I'm just gonna go to my computer where I have my IES slides. So sorry, I'm gonna go to E. Okay, so these are my file IIS files. Okay, definitely I can load any one of those. For example, I'm gonna load number 13 IIS. So I'm just gonna go here and show you what I'm see. So I'm just gonna go IIS. I have this kind of library. Okay, it has like 30 IIS lights, and these are the lights. It makes an artifact on the wall. That's the only difference between IIS lights and regular. They're very, very efficient if you're working with interior shots to have some kind of effects of the light, not just lit the wall and have some kind of effect. I'm just gonna choose number 13, okay, or any one you want. So in my case, I just chose number 13. So this is it, and place it here. Now, as you can see, the light is a bit different, and I'm gonna render. So you should have only these two lights, as you can see, and definitely they're a bit too not intense. So I'm just gonna make sure my intensity is a bit more, the value. So I'm gonna make it 5,000 in my case. As you can see, it's better now. I need it to be more, so maybe 10,000. So maybe something like that. They are small lights. I just want them to lit this. And I want the color to be something warm, so I can just go to temperature and make it 5,000, which is kind of more warmy. Okay, I like it, and I want them to be a bit higher because they're a bit too low for this. So I'm just gonna select them, I'm just gonna move them up, and maybe something like that. And this is what I'm going to get. Okay, as you can see, I can have this kind of effect on the wall. Okay, it's maybe too close to the wall. I can just make it a bit further, definitely something like that, and I got my effect that I want. Definitely, guys, in here I don't have the model. I should have a model which is the light, so I can submit light from it. So let's say I'm just gonna keep it like this. I liked it. This is going to be some kind of night light. Now, when I'm done with that, I'm just going to turn it off. The second thing I'm going to work on is basically just going to work on the logo in here. I'm just going to select it. I'm going to work with it as if it's V-Ray light materials. I'm going to go materials, and I'm going to select an empty material. So this, for example, I'm going to put it on this and just make sure it's going to be V-Ray light MTL. V-Ray light MTL, and I want it to be white. Okay, density wise I don't know exactly, but I'm gonna start with white. Just gonna get new ones, so I'm gonna just select this. It's going to be V-Ray light MTL, and I want it to be red. Okay, and I'm gonna select another one, V-Ray light MTL, and I want it to be also red, but it's going to be dark red. And I'm gonna select the third one, also V-Ray light MTL, and I want it to be dark blue. So it's going to be something like that. Okay, and I want a different color of red, so I'm just gonna select one more of those. I can just copy this, I can change its name and change the color. So in my case, I'm just gonna make it a bit darker, something in between. Perfect. I should have one more, but it's fine. So now, just gonna go in here, just gonna make sure my V-Ray light, this is V-Ray light white. I want the regular red, which is this. So I'm just gonna place them on these. Okay, it's gonna this. Dark ones are basically the internal ones. Okay, and this one in here. And I'm gonna add the dark one. And as for the others, I'm just gonna add the third option. As I've said before in creation of logo, technically I have two types of lights in here, but it's fine. I'm just gonna make them one for the ones from the other. I'm just gonna select this, and I'm gonna assign the blue. And as for the red one, I'm just gonna assign the original color, which is this, the bright color. Okay, that's basically it. Now I'm just gonna go back to the camera and let's see the render. As you can see, the light is super dim. Okay, I just turned off this original light. I can see, but it's just very, very dim. So all I need to do, I can just work along with the parameters. So just make sure the blue is going to be 10. Now I can see it. Maybe 20. Maybe 50. I think now it's getting this kind of light, which is perfect. So this is the blue. So I'm working around with the 50 value. So I'm just going to select this, maybe also 50. I think the red is a bit brighter, so I'm going to make it 30, 20. I think this is fine. Okay, the dark color, I'm going to make it 50 also, because it's dark. And this one, I'm going to make it 40. And as you can see, it's just going to make it 30. I want it to be darker. If I want to see it, it's darker. So I'm going to make it 20. As for this, I'm going to make it 22. Okay, it's going to be something like that. Okay, I can work around with it, but definitely the white one should be worked on. So I just want to search for the white. It's here, and I'm going to make it 10. 50. Nope. Just going to make sure this is the right one. Okay, 50. Now it should be fine. Actually, it's not really moving. So 50. Now it's okay. Right, maybe this is what I want. Then I'm getting this kind of effect. Okay, it's a small neon lighting up. If I want it to be stronger, I can make it stronger, but it's just a small lights. You can definitely work around with it. So I'm just, I think I'm satisfied with that. With the blue and the white, I'm fine. Maybe the dark one is not much, so I'm just gonna make it 20. Okay, maybe something like that. This is what I want. I think these are a bit too close to each other, so I'm just gonna make it 20. So they should be all like 20. I can have difference in the colors. So as you can see, I can see the internal part. Okay, I'm satisfied with that. I can wait for it. I can wait for the render to finish, or that's fine. So I think it's fine. I like it, and I'm gonna stop my render. Great. I can just turn on these lights again, and I can render that again. So I can see this light with this, and you can see definitely the mirror in here. I can see this. So this is kind of very dim light. I want to introduce the main light, which is going to be the top light. So I can leave these on, or I can just turn them off. It's always preferable to turn off all the lights before introducing a new light. So in my case, I'm just going to have an indirect light, which is going to be on the top. I'm just going to create a big light in here. I'm just going to select and isolate this. I'm just going to go to V-Ray Light, and I'm going to snap this from here to here. The thing I want it to be the opposite way, so I'm just going to rotate 90 degrees and make sure that this is going to be just slightly above. Okay, slightly above. That's perfect. And now I'm just going to end isolate. This is my light. Okay, just gonna go to the light options, and I want it to be invisible, okay, because I want the light to be going out on the top, and I don't want to see it from the holes in here because I have this kind of detail. Okay, I'm just gonna show you. Okay, so this is what I'm gonna have. Okay? So light's gonna bounce on this ceiling and then go down indirectly. So this is why I put the light to be pointing up. And at the same time, I'm just going to have it a temperature. I want it to be a bit warm, so 5800 maybe. So just a bit warm. And multiplier, I don't know. I have to check it out. And this is it. So I'm just going to render. I'm going to see the light from top, how it's going to be. So as you can see, the light from the top is going to be lighting the whole scene, but definitely depending how much you want the light to be. So as you can see, it's a bit strong. It's lighting the whole scene, which makes sense because it's going to be indirect and it's going to be a big light. And you can see the effect in here is just minimal now. But if I want it to be like more cozy light, I want the light to be there, but I want it to be less, maybe half or maybe a bit less than half, maybe 10 instead of 30. I'm just going to have it some kind of cozy light, and have this IS light more visible, the logo more visible, and definitely in here it's like I'm having the indirect light, but it's not very strong. Especially maybe I have a dimmer and dimming it up. But definitely if I have to see more visibly the room, definitely I'm going to have the light more. But because I have these kind of things in here, maybe I have a logo I want to show, a sign I'm working on as a designer, I want to show it to the client, I want it to be more visible, so I want it to be visible, so I have to work around with the lights. In here I have two lights that are not visible technically. I should have the model so it will have more realism to it because they are pointing the light downwards. So I have to have the spot in here, two spots linked to the wall as models, I mean, and this is it. And I can also have direct spots in here. In my case, I didn't draw them, so I'm just going to stop my render. I'm just going to do my last light. So I'm going to do a light, which is going to be a disk, and I'm gonna place them on top in here just so they can be visible. So something like that. I'm just gonna point it to go up. Definitely they're gonna be snapped here. I can just keep a little bit of distance. Okay, this is it. Just gonna make sure it's okay and just isolate them so I can see. So I'm just gonna make that here, somewhere here, and I'm gonna start from here. And I'm gonna do 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe. Okay, that's perfect. Select them all, make sure they are centered, so I can center them by midpoint, and I'm just gonna copy them to the other side, and I can definitely do on this side too. So I think it's okay. It's fine like that. Okay, I can just do a small cheat. I'm gonna select all these lights. I'm gonna push them a bit like this, and I'm gonna make this one kind of copy so I can see it more. I'm just gonna do maybe 4. That's it. Okay. And here it's not visible, so I'm gonna see these lights. So the most important thing when I'm copying these, I'm making sure they are instants. Okay. So everything is linked together. Okay, and they should work fine. Now I'm just gonna select the big light. I'm gonna turn it off so I can have things more visible. And let's see what are those lights are doing. Small lights. Okay, technically they're not doing anything so far. Okay, I have to just make sure what's going on. I think my camera is the problem. Let's double check. Okay, my camera was penetrating the wall. So now, as you can see, I have spotlights in here. So I'm just gonna select these spotlights. So I'm gonna pause it and select any one of those because they are instances. So I just have to modify one and everything will be modified. First of all, I'm gonna do double-sided. So I want the light to be lit from up and down so I can have some kind of halo on the wall as if it's lighting and there's no space between them. That's one. Definitely I want them to be stronger and warmer. So I'm just gonna go temperature. I'm gonna make them 5800. and instead of 30 I'm gonna make them 100. So as you can see, I'm getting a bit of light, 200, maybe something like that. I think these lights should lit this way, so I think I like it. I'm having this kind of light spots on the top, and everything's fine. Okay, so this is basically it. So now the last thing I'm gonna do now, just gonna go to my big light and just turn it on. But in my case, I don't want it to be very strong, so I'm gonna keep it something like 10, and let's see overall the scene how it's gonna look. So I have internal lights, I have plane, I have disk, I have light mesh, or in my case I just added the V-Ray light material. It's the same, okay, almost the same. And I have V-Ray IS in here, and I'm getting this kind of scene. The environment outside is just black. That's why you can see the reflection. So in my case, for example, these lights, I don't want to see them here. If you remember, if you go to any of those or all of them and you press on invisible, they won't be seen in the camera. But if you press don't affect reflection, okay, now you will see that they won't be seen. So technically, if you don't want them to be visible, I'm just turning them off from the scene, from the reflection, so nothing is gonna be seen in here. But usually, as I said, we don't use them in these terms, so it's just like having some kind of fake lights. I would add them not to be visible. The last thing I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna add one more light. I'm just making a lot of lights in here. Usually we don't need to do this much, so I'm just gonna add a dome. Just gonna place it anywhere here, and I want this dome to be kind of maybe dark blue. Just gonna make it active. Just gonna make it blue, and definitely very dark blue. This kind of like a sky, and I can make the intensity maybe a bit more, so it will kind of have some kind of environment outside. But definitely I can just add a picture. Outside I can have a plane and have a picture on it, or I can add it to the environment picture, same thing. So I can get this kind of scene. Okay, so that's basically a quick practice. I just went through everything concerning V-Ray lights, V-Ray sun, V-Ray IS, and V-Ray ambient light.